Welcome to this morning's international news. Let's hear the headlines first. Not the time to reduce the resources of WHO, said UN chief. China didn't warn public of likely pandemic for 6 key days. The world will need more than one COVID-19 vaccine, GSK CEO says. Trump halts World Health Organization funding amid coronavirus pandemic. India, Pakistan seek to lift some curbs to help millions hit by coronavirus lockdown. And Korea holds parliamentary election under strict safety measures and pandemic. These were the headlines. Let's jump into the details news. It is not the time to reduce the resources of the operations of the World Health Organization or any other humanitarian organization in the fight against the virus, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said Tuesday. It is my belief that the World Health Organization must be supported as it is absolutely critical to the world's efforts to win the war against COVID-19. He said after US President Donald Trump announced earlier that his country would cut off funding to the UN health body for mishandling the coronavirus pandemic. In the 6 days after top Chinese officials secretarially determined they likely were facing a pandemic from a new coronavirus, the city of Wuhan, at the epicenter of the disease, hosted a mass banquet for tens of thousands of people. Millions began traveling through the Lunar New Year celebration. President Xi Jinping warned the public on the seventh day, January 20th. But by that time, more than 3,000 people had been infected during almost a week of public silence. According to internal documents obtained by the Associated Press and expert estimates based on reprospective infection data. 6 days, the deadly from January 14th to January 20 was neither the first mistake made by the Chinese officials at all levels in confronting the outbreak, nor the longest lag, as governments around the world have dragged their feet for weeks and even months in addressing the virus. But the delay by the first country to face the new coronavirus came at a critical time. The beginning of the outbreak, Chinese attempt to walk a line between alerting the public and avoiding panic set the stage for a pandemic that has infected almost 2 million people and taken more than 126,000 lives. The world will need more than one COVID-19 vaccine, so drug companies must partner in the race to develop the weapons to fight the novel coronavirus. Chief Executive Officer Emma Walmsley said on Wednesday. Pick and Sanofi SA said on Tuesday they would develop a vaccine to fight the first spreading coronavirus. The drug makers said they expect to start clinical trials for the vaccine in the second half of this year. If successful, the vaccine would be available in the second half of 2021. Walmsley and GSK's partnership with Sanofi brings a scale to the attempt to get a COVID-19 vaccine, but that there was still an enormous amount of work to do. The world's going to definitely need more than one vaccine when you think about demand in this hugely challenged global health crisis, she told to BBC Radio. US President Donald Trump on Tuesday cut off funding to the World Health Organization, accusing the UN body of mishandling the coronavirus crisis as governments grapple with how and when to get their struggling economies back to work. The deadly pandemic has already killed more than 125,000 people and infected nearly 2 million worldwide since it first emerged in China last year. The novel coronavirus has also upended the lives of billions of people as nations imposed lockdown measures to curb its spread, undoubtedly reducing the death toll but also sending the global economy into a tailspin. As the tally of deaths and new infections appears to begin leveling off, world leaders and citizens are fiercely debating when to lift stay-at-home orders. Trump said he could see rays of light on the horizon for the world's largest economy, but launched a virulent attack on the WHO for severely mismanaging and covering up the spread of coronavirus. He accused the Geneva-based agency for propagating false information and charged that its reliance on China data had likely caused a 20-fold increase in cause all world. India will allow industries located in the countryside to reopen next week as well as resuming farm activities to reduce the pain for millions of people hit by a lengthy shutdown in the coronavirus battle. Prime Minister Narendra Modi ordered the population of 1.3 billion to keep indoors for 19 days more after a strict 3-week lockdown, saying it was critical to save the lives amid the pandemic. But he said he felt the pain of the poor, and on Wednesday, the Home Ministry released guidelines allowing limited resumption of commerce and industry in the hardline, less affected by the pandemic. To mitigate the hardship of the public, select additional activities have been allowed, which will come into effect from April 20th. South Koreans began going to the polls on Wednesday to elect members of parliament under strict safety guidance in one of the first national elections held amid the coronavirus epidemic. Of about 14,000 polling stations were open at 6 a.m. around the country after disinfection, and voters were required to wear a mask and have a temperature check upon arrival. Anyone whose temperature was higher than 37.5 Celsius, that is 99.5 Fahrenheit, was led to a special booth. All voters must use hand sanitizer and plastic gloves when casting ballots and maintain 1 meter distance between each other. The election is set to decide control of parliament and shape President Moon Jae-in's ability to push through his agenda in the final 2 years of his administration, including looser fiscal policy aimed at creating jobs, raising the minimum wage, and continuous re-engagement with North Korea. Globally, South Korea was one of the first countries to hold a national election since the coronavirus epidemic began, while many others postponed votes.